look down on people because of what they did. She knew there was something behind it.
Maybe we are not hungry for a piece of bread, but maybe there is somebody there in the family who is unwanted, unloved, uncared, forgotten. There is the love.
Did you know that during her time, Mother Teresa was not just all about love and peace? She also made shocking predictions about the future, and these predictions would make anyone break into cold sweats. She warned of turbulent crises, destructive patterns, and challenges that could threaten humanity as we know it. What else did Mother Teresa foresee for 2025, and how will it influence our lives? Join us as we reveal Mother Teresa's frightening prediction for 2025, the destruction of disunity. If there's one thing Mother Teresa predicted that should send shivers down our spines, it's the lack of unity. Over 2 decades ago, during an interview with a Christian magazine, Mother Teresa voiced her fears about a future where unity among people would break down. This wasn't just speculation. It was something she really believed would shape the coming years in a way that would bring a lot of harm to humanity. Unity, for Mother Teresa, wasn't just about nations getting along. It was about communities and individuals standing together, supporting one another, and building bridges instead of walls. Disunity, on the other hand, would divide people, creating chaos in its wake.
Devastating attacks on the Strip's healthcare system. Several Palestinians were killed or injured in airstrikes on Al-Wafa Hospital in Gaza City on Sunday.
She predicted that if humanity drifted apart, we would see the rise of conflicts, misunderstandings, and even violence. This prediction is very unsettling. Mother Teresa spent her entire life promoting peace, harmony, and love. She believed in bringing people together regardless of their differences, whether it was religion, race, or social status. To hear her speak about a future so fragmented was shocking, to say the least. She saw disunity as a root cause of many global issues, including wars and social unrest. Without unity, Mother Teresa believed, humanity would struggle to find common ground, and this wasn't just a theoretical concern for her. She had witnessed the devastating effects of division firsthand in her work with the poor and marginalized. The implications of this prediction are terrifying. If the world continues in disunity, how can we expect to address global problems like poverty, climate change, or inequality? Mother Teresa's words remind us that unity isn't just a nice idea, it's essential for survival. But this was only one part of her warning. Mother Teresa's predictions for the future didn't stop at disunity.
Mother Teresa is one of the great humanitarians of the 20th century because of her ability to love those who were the most vulnerable in society.
In fact, what she said about the erosion of family bonds was equally scary. The erosion of family bonds. One of Mother Teresa's most unforgettable predictions was about the collapse of family life. She often spoke about the importance of family as the foundation of a strong and healthy society. In her view, families were where love, understanding, and compassion were first nurtured. Without strong families, she believed, the world would face even greater challenges. David Scott, Vice Chancellor for Communications in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, once shared a memorable quote from Mother Teresa. "You deal with the poor in the abstract, but forget about the poor in your own home." She wasn't just talking about financial poverty here. She was talking about emotional and relational poverty, and this is the kind of poverty that stems from neglecting those closest to us. For Mother Teresa, this was a serious issue. Neglected children, ignored spouses, and broken relationships were, in her eyes, some of the greatest tragedies of modern life. She believed that true love begins at home, and when families fail to nurture that love, the consequences spread out into society. Her belief was that the home is where both great problems and great solutions originate. In her 1997 book, No Greater Love, she emphasized the importance of building strong family bonds. She argued that without love and understanding in the home, individuals would feel a void that could lead them down destructive paths. Mother Teresa saw this lack of love as a major driver of violence and instability. When people don't feel loved or valued at home, they may seek validation elsewhere, sometimes in dangerous or unhealthy ways. This, she warned, could lead to a world filled with anger, resentment, and even conflict. One of her most iconic responses came when she was asked how to promote world peace. Her answer was simple but deep. Go home and love your family. This might seem overly simplistic, but for Mother Teresa, it was a deep truth. She believed that peace and war both begin at home. If families are strong and loving, society as a whole benefits, but if families are fractured, the effects can be devastating. The erosion of family bonds is a problem that feels especially dreadful today. With consumerism and technology taking center stage, people are becoming more disconnected from one another. But even this wasn't the full extent of her warning. Mother Teresa also spoke about another alarming trend she foresaw for the future: spiritual poverty. If there was one thing Mother Teresa didn't second guess when she spoke about 2025, it was the danger of spiritual poverty. She believed that as materialism grew, people would become more spiritually disconnected. This, in her eyes, was one of the greatest threats to humanity. Mother Teresa had always been wary of excessive materialism. She saw it as a distraction from what truly mattered. She warned that in a world consumed by materialism, people would begin to lose sight of their spiritual selves. This, she said, would lead to a serious emptiness. We are talking about a kind of poverty far worse than the lack of money or possessions. Imagine a world where people have everything they could ever want: luxury homes, expensive gadgets, designer clothes, but still feel very unhappy. This is the future Mother Teresa predicted. She believed that material wealth could never satisfy the human soul. Without a connection to something greater, whether it's faith, community, or a sense of purpose, people would remain unfulfilled. This emptiness, according to Mother Teresa, could have far-reaching consequences. A society obsessed with material things is a society that loses its humanity. People become more selfish, more isolated, and less compassionate. This, in turn, leads to a breakdown in relationships, communities, and even entire nations. Mother Teresa's warning about spiritual poverty is particularly striking in today's world. Everywhere we look, consumerism dominates. People are constantly bombarded with messages telling them they need to buy more, achieve more, and own more. But as Mother Teresa pointed out, this constant pursuit of material things often comes at the expense of our spiritual well-being. She encouraged people to step back from the noise of the world and reconnect with what truly matters. For her, this wasn't just about religious faith. It was about finding inner peace and purpose. She believed that a spiritually fulfilled person was more likely to be kind, compassionate, and content. The scary part of this prediction is how it shows the emptiness many people feel despite having so much. Mother Teresa saw this coming decades ago, and her words feel terrifyingly prophetic today. In her lifetime, she worked tirelessly to remind people that true happiness doesn't come from wealth or possessions. Her message was clear: if we don't address our spiritual poverty, we risk creating a world that is very unhappy and unfulfilled. But Mother Teresa didn't stop there. She had more prediction for 2025, and they're just as chilling as the others. A terrifyingly noisy world. What if we told you that Mother Teresa predicted something we all live with today? This is none other than noise, but not just the kind you hear. She spoke of a worse kind of noise, one that invades our hearts, minds, and souls. The constant distractions of the modern world, including social media, streaming platforms, endless notifications, and the pressure to stay plugged in 24/7, create a storm of noise around us. Mother Teresa saw this coming. For her, this wasn't just a modern nuisance, but an actual evil, one that disconnects us from ourselves and the divine.
And she was reminding them that if we truly want to live up to the ideals of justice and equality, then that has to start with respecting the dignity and the worth of every human life.
She believed that silence is necessary for spiritual growth. In the silence of the heart, God speaks, she once said. But in a world filled with noise, where do we find the space to listen? Think about it. How often do we sit quietly, away from all distractions? According to Mother Teresa, this lack of silence leads to a much worse disconnection, making us feel restless and unfulfilled. She believed that healing, whether spiritual, emotional, or mental, requires us to take a moment each day to be still. Only in silence, she argued, can we truly connect with God and hear His guidance.
Let us make one strong resolution that we will bring prayer in our family, that we will teach our children to pray and pray with them. And you will see the joy and the love and the peace that will come into your hearts.
For Mother Teresa, life wasn't just a series of ordinary events. Every moment had meaning and purpose, but only if we allowed ourselves to pause and embrace it. She urged people to step away from distractions, reflect, and reconnect with what truly matters: weakened relationships. Another terrifying prediction from Mother Teresa was that relationships would grow weaker over time. She foresaw a world where people became too busy, self-absorbed, and disconnected from one another. In today's fast-paced world, isn't this exactly what we see? Work schedules, technology, and personal ambitions often take precedence over spending time with loved ones. Mother Teresa warned that this shift would lead to a loss of connection and intimacy, leaving people feeling isolated and lonely. She believed relationships were the backbone of human existence. Without strong, meaningful bonds, life loses its richness.
And if you stay together, you will love one another as God loves each one of you. Today, in the world, there's so much suffering because of that want of unity in the family.
Mother Teresa always emphasized the importance of love, understanding, and time spent with others. She encouraged people to prioritize their relationships, even in the face of life's many demands. If we don't nurture our relationships, we risk creating a future where love and companionship become rare luxuries. Economic upheavals. Mother Teresa's predictions didn't stop with personal matters. She also foresaw significant economic upheavals in the years to come. She warned of a future where greed and inequality would dominate, leaving the poor even more vulnerable. She often spoke about the dangers of wealth being concentrated in the hands of a few, while millions struggled to survive. For Mother Teresa, economic inequality wasn't just a financial issue, it was a moral crisis. She believed that a world where the rich grow richer and the poor are left behind is a world heading for disaster. In her lifetime, Mother Teresa worked tirelessly to bring attention to the plight of the poor.
And I'm very happy to receive it of the hungry, of the naked, of the homeless, of all those people who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared. Throwaway of the society, people who have become a burden to the society and are shunned by everybody.
She believed that true progress could only be achieved when everyone had access to basic necessities like food, shelter, and education. Political crisis. Mother Teresa also predicted an era of political crisis. She foresaw a world where leaders would become more divided, prioritizing power and personal gain over the well-being of their people. She believed that politics, when driven by greed and corruption, could destabilize entire nations. According to Mother Teresa, the solution is in servant leadership, leaders who put the needs of their people first. She often spoke about the importance of humility and compassion in leadership, qualities she felt were lacking in many political systems. Her warning reminds us of the need for ethical governance. A world filled with political strife is one where progress stalls and people suffer. Mother Teresa's vision calls for a return to integrity and service in leadership, something that feels increasingly urgent today. Environmental crisis. Finally, Mother Teresa warned of an impending environmental crisis. Decades ago, she recognized humanity's growing disregard for the planet and the consequences of that neglect. She believed that our failure to care for the earth would lead to devastating outcomes, from natural disasters to the loss of resources necessary for survival. Mother Teresa's concern for the environment wasn't just about preserving nature, it was about protecting the most vulnerable among us. She understood that environmental degradation disproportionately affects the poor, who often lack the resources to adapt to changing conditions. Her solution was rooted in responsibility. She urged people to live simply, consume less, and take care of the world around them. For Mother Teresa, environmental stewardship was a moral duty, one that required everyone to play their part. You talk of charity, the name Mother Teresa immediately strikes your mind. The unwavering dedication of Mother Teresa to the cause of the poor and sick cemented her reputation as a symbol of love and selfless sacrifice. Throughout her life, she tirelessly served those in need, embodying a spirit of relentless compassion. For instance, when Mother Teresa received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979, she insisted on holding the ceremony unconventionally. Instead of using the prize money for her organization, she requested it be used to help people experiencing poverty in India. However, her legacy is more complex than many realize. While widely admired for her work, some aspects of her life and practices have been subject to continuing debate. In her acceptance speech, Mother Teresa said her core mission is love and charity. She emphasized the importance of loving others with the same depth we reserve for ourselves. She drew a powerful parallel between this principle and the ultimate sacrifice of Christ. Mother Teresa added that compassion was her guiding light. Beyond her well-known advocacy for the underprivileged, she also addressed critical social issues like abortion and drug abuse, while reminding people of the enduring hope and joy of Christmas. While many admired Mother Teresa's tireless dedication to serving others,
Mother Teresa started the Missionaries of Charity to help the poor on the streets of Calcutta, but soon the religious orders spread throughout the world.
what we can reveal next will shock you. One of her private letters recently found reveals a hidden dimension to her life. Written to Reverend Michael Vander Peet, the letter offers insights into her internal turmoil. Here, a stark contrast emerges between the unwavering faith she projected publicly and the profound spiritual loneliness she dealt with privately. It is important to note that Mother Teresa's spiritual struggles are not unique among saints and religious figures. A similar experience, known as the Night of the Soul, has been documented throughout history, with figures like Saint John of the Cross describing periods of intense doubt and a sense of separation from God. Before we go further, it is important to provide some context into the personality of Mother Teresa and the nature of the purported letters. Who is Mother Teresa? And what letters did she write? During her lifetime, Mother Teresa made a lot of powerful public statements. However, despite her public pronouncements on Christ's boundless love, Mother Teresa's private writings revealed a harrowing internal struggle. Her letters documented a profound spiritual emptiness, a haunting silence that left her feeling utterly alone. This existential battle, spanning decades, painted a poignant picture of her inner conflict. 11 weeks after expressing this deep despair, Mother Teresa delivered her Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech with her trademark smile. The stark contrast between her public demeanor and private suffering shows the complexity of her faith. The release of these private letters significantly impacted how the world perceived Mother Teresa, who was previously revered as an icon of unwavering trust. While outwardly exuded purity and serenity, her inner world grappled with a profound sense of God's absence. But what scientists found about her condition is even more enjoyable. A study by the University of Pennsylvania suggests that up to half of clergy experience periods of doubt and questioning throughout their careers. This proves the universality of human experience, even for those dedicated to their faith. Before going deeper into the letter, let us give a little context into the person of Mother Teresa. While several people know her as Agnes Gonsha Boyakshiu, Mother Teresa wasn't born by that name. She was christened Agnes Gonsha Boyakshiu, with Gonsha translating to flower bud in Albanian. This detail adds a touch of symbolism to her life, which is dedicated to serving the most vulnerable. The world was sad when Mother Teresa died on September 5, 1997. The woman affectionately known as the Saint of the Gutters breathed her last at the Missionaries of Charity headquarters in Kolkata. Years of declining health, including lung, heart, and kidney issues, culminated in a fatal heart attack. Her devoted sisters, clad in the order's signature white and blue saris, surrounded her. A close confidant, Sunita Kumar, recalled Mother Teresa's final words as a poignant whisper, "I can't breathe." Sister Neera's announcement of Mother Teresa's death sent shockwaves across the globe. Tributes poured in from dignitaries like Pope John Paul II and President Clinton hailed her as a beacon of love and compassion. Yet, on the bustling streets of Kolkata, she found her calling and built her legacy. Mother Teresa's selfless love crossed religious boundaries in India, a predominantly Hindu nation. While Princess Diana was the Queen of Hearts, Mother Teresa embodied the spirit of India's poor and oppressed. When news of her passing arrived, it jolted the nation awake, a poignant reminder of the immense loss. Mother Teresa spent her life traveling the globe, offering solace and assistance with an ever-positive outlook. However, unbeknownst to many, she harbored an internal battle. The truth about this inner turmoil only surfaced near the end of her life. Some people have suggested that the letters were manipulated to soil the image of this set. How was the letter discovered? Were they really written by Mother Teresa or some naysayers?
The Letters. It chronicles the untold story of the struggle and isolation she endured as she served the poor in Calcutta, India.
4 years after the passing of Mother Teresa, a startling revelation came to light. Archbishop Henry de Souza disclosed that she underwent an exorcism just months before passing. Mother Teresa was convinced that she was possessed by a demon and consented to the ritual in November 1996 during a hospital stay in Kolkata. A version has it that she had repeated sleepless nights during hospitalization. This prompted Archbishop de Souza's intervention. While this experience with an exorcism is widely reported, it's important to note that Archbishop de Souza clarified that it wasn't a formal exorcism. He stated that a prayer from the rite of exorcism was used, but he didn't believe Mother Teresa to be genuinely possessed. It is also important to point out that while exorcisms are traditionally associated with demonic possession, the Catholic Church also recognizes the concept of oppression, a lesser form of spiritual distress caused by external, malevolent influences. This distinction suggests that Mother Teresa's experience might not have necessarily involved full-blown demonic possession. Archbishop de Souza sought assistance from Father Rosario Stroschio, who then led a half-hour prayer service over the ailing nun. This service echoed elements of an exorcism ritual, lending credence to the Archbishop's claims. Father Stroschio later suggested that Mother Teresa exhibited unusual behavior before the prayer session. He elaborated on how even saints have historically grappled with spiritual challenges. Remarkably, Mother Teresa reportedly experienced immediate peace and tranquility after the service. Archbishop de Souza also suggested that Mother Teresa's exceptional holiness made her susceptible to spiritual attacks, implying that even saints are not immune to evil forces. However, alternative explanations for the intervention exist. You will be thrilled to find alternative explanations for Mother Teresa's situation. Here is how it all started. This promises to be revealing. In 2003, the publication of a book titled Mother Teresa, Come Be My Light sent shockwaves through the religious world. This compilation pieced together Mother Teresa's private letters spanning 6 decades and revealed a hidden truth. For nearly 50 years, she battled a profound spiritual crisis. Interestingly, these letters laid bare her inner turmoil and were preserved against her explicit wishes. She had ardently desired their destruction, shielding the world from her private battles. The Church, however, intervened, overriding her wishes. While Mother Teresa outwardly exuded cheerfulness, a stark contrast existed within. In her letters, she described her spiritual anguish as a living hell, expressing feelings of resentment towards a perceived spiritual dryness and even questioning God's presence. What is more attractive? Come Be My Light wasn't compiled by a skeptical outsider, but by Reverend Brian Kolodichuk, a senior member of the Missionaries of Charity and Mother Teresa's postulator, tasked with advocating for her sainthood. Reverend Kolodichuk compiled these letters. Let us examine the plot of the letter. How much of Mother Teresa's life and times were captured in the letters? After nearly 17 years of educating young minds in Kolkata with the Loreto sisters, a transformative shift awaited Agnes Gonsha Boyakshiu, known then as Mother Teresa. Though weary, she embarked on her customary annual retreat in September 1946, a 400-kilometer journey by train to Darjeeling, near the Himalayan foothills. During this retreat, a profound spiritual experience unfolded. In January 1947, Mother Teresa recounted a powerful message received in prayer from Archbishop Ferdinand Perrier. Jesus implored her with an unwavering commitment to answer her true calling. He wanted Indian nuns and preachers of charity spreading his love to the impoverished and marginalized. This calling wasn't without its challenges. Jesus acknowledged her shortcomings, suggesting her weakness and sinfulness could fulfill a divine purpose. Mother Teresa, with characteristic humility, surrendered her doubts and fears. She committed to being an instrument of God's grace, ready to venture into unfamiliar and arduous territory. Fueled by an unwavering conviction, she pursued her calling. It wasn't just about alleviating physical suffering, she envisioned a profound spiritual transformation for those she helped. While some influential figures, like Archbishop Ferdinand Perrier, initially harbored doubts, Mother Teresa's faith in her sacred mission remained unshakable. She navigated bureaucratic hurdles within the Catholic mission with strategic persuasion and spiritual zeal. During this challenging journey, she sought guidance through prayers and conversations with Christ, striving to understand her purpose. Mother Teresa also experienced mystical visions that solidified her chosen path and illuminated the way during moments of despair. Her confessor, Father Celeste van Exem, testified to the authenticity of her experiences. Now, this is the most shocking part of the revelation. Mother Teresa's order, the Missionaries of Charity, has grown to include over 4,500 sisters operating in 139 countries. How bad were her dark days, and how did she overcome the darkness? Despite outward success, Mother Teresa's private letters to Father Van Exem revealed a different story. Even after securing a home for her burgeoning mission just 2 months in, a deep loneliness gnawed at her. She described a persistent sense of evil within her, an invisible burden she couldn't shake. Turning to Father Van Exem for solace and guidance, she pleaded for his prayers to dispel the sadness and doubt clouding her spirit. However, Teresa's unwavering faith, a cornerstone of her public persona, presented a significant challenge. Explaining her loyalty amidst a perceived absence of God proved difficult. Her inability to share her deepest struggles intensified her isolation. Begging for support, in maintaining her unwavering devotion, she confessed to being constantly bombarded by doubt and despair during this turbulent period. In desperate need of help, Teresa confided in a confessor, revealing the darkest depths of her theological crisis. Emotional pleas documented in letters, like one from 1959, questioned the core of her beliefs. This letter marks a turning point in Teresa's spiritual journey. It paints a raw picture of her wavering faith. In a desperate plea to God, she grappled with abandonment, hopelessness, and a profound sense of isolation.
St. John says, "How can you say that you love God, whom you don't see, if you do not love?"
Torn between a yearning for a divine connection and the suffocating weight of doubt, she lived in unbearable silence and darkness. Teresa's bravery lies in her unflinching honesty. She laid bare her inner turmoil, her struggle with God's seeming absence, and the constant barrage of doubt and confusion. Despite the fear of being ostracized for blasphemy, she couldn't silence the questions gnawing at her soul. Her ultimate desire was forgiveness and closeness to Jesus. Her heartfelt prayer for comfort became a cornerstone of her work. But did she find an instant comfort in her worries? No. As her influence grew, so did her spiritual loneliness. In a heartfelt letter to Father Perrier in 1953, Mother Teresa confided in him about an intense sadness that had shrouded her since starting her work with low-income people. Despite Perrier's reassurances, the melancholy persisted. This internal conflict remained a closely guarded secret. However, it manifested outwardly as a profound sense of isolation and spiritual hollowness. Her desperate pleas for solace and direction, evident in her letters, reveal a soul wrestling with doubt and a yearning for a connection that perpetually felt out of reach. Interestingly, her internal struggles raged on even as her missionaries of charity garnered global recognition. This spiritual turmoil led her to confide in a succession of spiritual advisors, including Father Van Exem, Father Perrier, Cardinal Picasci, and Reverend Joseph Neuner. This pattern resembles someone seeking a therapist who could guide them through her emotional darkness. During her periods of anguish, Mother Teresa felt an agonizing absence of Jesus' presence, further amplifying her pain. A brief flicker of hope emerged in 1958 with the death of Pope Pius XIV. Requiem masses held worldwide presented an opportunity for her work to receive official sanction. This reprieve from a decade of inner torment offered a fleeting light. Sadly, the darkness soon returned, settling over her once again. Do you know how Mother Teresa finally found a path out of her predicament? Here's how. The light of Christ outshone her darkness, as she revealed in a letter to Father Perrier around 1961. In the letter, Mother Teresa expressed newfound acceptance of long-standing spiritual darkness, starkly contrasting typical reactions to trauma. Unlike many who seek to escape suffering, Teresa embraced it as a faint echo of Christ's earthly torment. The spiritual guide by Father Perrier offered her 3 profound wisdoms. First, he acknowledged there was no earthly solution for her experience. Second, he helped her understand that Christ's absence wasn't a sign of his non-existence. Finally, he reassured her that her longing for God's presence confirmed his hidden presence within her. This revelation liberated Teresa from despair and ignited hope. She sensed a deeper purpose in her quest for God, her pain transforming into a symbol of faith and resilience. While the pain persisted, she found solace in the notion that her spiritual struggle mirrored Christ's on the cross. Teresa also informed Father Perrier of growing intimacy with an inner darkness that had gnawed at her spirit for years. What do you think about Mother Teresa's predictions for 2025? Let us know your opinions in the comment section below. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Click on the next video displayed on your screen and you will enjoy it.